Welcome. We're going to continue reviewing every year that I've been on Booktube, the highs, the lows, just general thoughts. I've done this for 2020 and 2021. There's a playlist, presumably, in the description of this video. Let's do 2022, which, if memory serves, was the year I read way too many frickin' books. Way too many frickin' books. And I looked, I was like, I thought I had read only like 140 some books, but Storygraph seems to think I read 160 books. Which is way too many books for me, obviously, disclaimer. Especially considering, I think 2021 is currently the year with like the bangers, the hits, this is iconic Angela stuff that I still talk about to this day. 2022 has some of those, but considering how much I read, the quality was high, but not as pervasive, if that makes sense. I read a lot of stuff just to read it, which I do sometimes. Like, I do that often. I'm not going to change who I am. I like to just have opinions on things, even if I won't like them. So yeah, that's the year I read too many books, but it was also the year that I defended my thesis and got my PhD. Very exciting. It was also the year that Ryan and I moved into our last apartment in Boston, which I really loved. I loved that apartment. It was in the Coolidge Corner area of Brookline. Oh, and if you know anything about Boston and me and Brookline, I was a 5-minute walk from the Brookline Booksmith. A 5-minute walk. And I never bought that many books, so everyone be impressed by my control for living in an apartment, because I've lost that a little bit now that I'm in a house. It was also the year where I proposed to Ryan, which was very fun. I did that in the fall of 2022. So yeah, it was a good year. And honestly, in retrospect, it was one of our last more calm years. Like, I was really stressed in terms of job hunting. That was stressful for me. But things, we didn't know what 2023 would be. And that was a year for us. That was quite a time. And it's honestly not till like now that I feel like I've recovered a bit from some of the trauma of 2023, which also objectively was a good year, but it was a year. So just like my other times, I'm going to talk about the lowlights, the books that I still think about that I didn't like that year, that still like, I'm like, I hate you, or like, I'm disappointed with you. And then I have 19 books. We're going to have the 9 honorable mentions. I didn't rank them in any order, but I felt like they really did like capture a trend for myself, / are books I still think about or I own. And then we have my top 10, which is from, apparently that year, I put out a top 10 short story collection, a top 10 fantasy, and a top 10 science fiction. I think that's one of the last few years I was able to break it down into genre, because then my top 10s just became a blending of a bunch of stuff. I wasn't reading enough where I felt like I had these top 10s in each genre. Or like I was reading enough, but I wasn't getting that feeling. And I don't know if that's because I'm not picking up the right things, or just as you read more and more books, your standards kind of change for what is best. I don't know. But I really do love the books we're going to talk about at the latter half of the video. The first part, let's first talk about some disappointments. Because I have, 2 disappointments and then 3 books that I actually like. I will still rage about all the time. So one of them is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Until this moment, she was always the author where even if I thought her writing was over, like it was too long, like the books were getting too long, they would be escapist. Like, she was my go-to escapist. Your mental health is trash. You can truly be immersed and forget about the world in these books, even if the world building is weird, even if there's elements that don't make sense. And House of Sky and Breath was so messy. It was such a messy time. I was really disappointed in the decisions she made as an author to just be like, fine, let's have all these point of views. Only one of them will be one of the female characters. All of the others will just be the same variation on the alpha male that I have written 7 million times. Like, literally, our main character in that series has some badass friends that we never get perspectives of. Or maybe we do in the 3rd book, because I was so disappointed in this book. I haven't read the 3rd book, and I don't know if I ever will. I probably won't. Especially because I love, and still love, House of Earth and Blood. I read that twice, and it is a very good book. And it kind of works as a standalone, so I kind of keep it there. The next one that I'm pretty disappointed in was Seasonal Fears by Shauna Maguire, and that's only because my love for Middle Game knows no bounds. Oh, do I love Middle Game. And Seasonal Fears was not Middle Game. It was not, it was kind of a traveling story, which I really didn't like. And I had no buy-in into the love story, which I think you need in order to feel any of the emotional beats. You know, you have to feel like this is a fated love that is maybe forbidden, that might fail. And if you don't have buy-in to that sort of the tragedy part of it, I don't think the emotional beats hit. And then otherwise it's just like a fairly straightforward traveling competition adjacent story. And I didn't actually understand what was happening with the seasons and stuff. Maybe on reread, if I ever reread it, I'll feel better, because like I am sort of starting to feel like I'm okay with the Alchemist Journal series, but that said, in any minute, Middle Game will become a standalone in my brain. Okay, this is like middle of the pack. Burnt Sugar. It was a Booker Award shortlisted book. I read it for my book club. We all gave it 2 stars. I am not alone in this opinion, at least in real people space. This just didn't work for me in terms of the craft. I felt it was pretentious, personally. I truly thought the writing style was pretentious, in ways that really threw me out of the story. And I think I'm using the word correctly, pretentious. Like, I think she thought the sentences she wrote were better than they were. Like, that's how I feel. Especially in terms of descriptors. The way she used smell, I think I knew what she was trying to do with smell, because this is a book about memory, infallible memory. Does her mother have Alzheimer's or not? What does that mean for her? And so smell is very linked to memory. So I could see why she kept using it, but it kept throwing me out of the story, because she would keep describing things to smell in ways that, like, you can't smell that. Like, you can't smell that. Like, I don't know. It was not working for me in that sense. And then some of the things we chose to smell were, it was like that classic literary fiction shock value thing. Like, it reminds me of Eileen. Oh, gosh, Eileen. What a book that I read before Booktube. And is why I don't read other books by that author, even though they keep being popular on Booktube. I know she's just trying to shock me and make things gross, and I'm okay with that. I just don't want to be there. So I don't like when literary fiction just tries to be shock. And it's just also a classic, not even unhinged, it's just an unreliable narrator, female character who's at this weird point in her life and making bad decisions, and she's already made previous bad decisions. She doesn't like her marriage. She doesn't like her mom. It's just like, it was fine. Like, it was fine, and then it threw me out of it, and then it was bad. So I didn't like it. It was so short and took me so long to read. Crossroads of Twilight. Oh, I never miss an opportunity to talk about how bad this book is. Never. Mainly because that was the only reason I read this book. To have the rights to be like, no, this book is bad. And I even like the slog books, okay? Books 7 through 9, I don't dislike them. 8's a little weird. Like, I don't love Path of Daggers, but I love Crown of Swords, actually. I don't think book 6 lands for me unless I have Crown of Swords. And I like Winter's Heart, because we do something in Winter's Heart I never thought we would do in the series. I was like, that has implications. And book 10 goes, what if we ignore those 8 implications for 800 pages and talk about nothing and be slightly transphobic in our clue gathering for Dark Friends? Ooh, I hated that book. Oh, it was so boring. It was so boring. And then I hate it even more in retrospect, because the books he published after that, New Spring and Knife of Dreams, are actually the best Robert Jordan books I've read. And I'm like, so you just wrote this this should have been on the drawing room floor. This book should have never made it outside of your drafting room. This should not be how it is. This should maybe be one of your stupid long ass prologues in Knife of Dreams. It could be its own novella. It could be, God forbid, 400 pages like New Spring. Oh, I hate Crossroads of Twilight. Ooh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. For so many reasons. So yeah, don't love that one. And then the book that literally makes it so I will never read this author again is Boy Snowbird. I really love Helen Oyeyemi's writing style. It's stunning. It's beautiful. I read a book before this, Something Icarus, and that's why I suggested we read Boy Snowbird for my book club, because I'm like, I really loved her writing. I think that'll work for this group. Let's try this one out. This book so dramatically mishandles a transgender character. I don't even know if the author is intentionally malicious, but it is done with so little care that I just don't care. Like, I just don't care. I don't think anyone should read this book. I think it's harmful in how it perpetuates stereotypes. It's one of those literary fictions that's kind of, sort of, is there magic? Is there not magic? I also think, ignoring my biggest gripe of the transphobic nature of the ending, which, it's just so stereotypically bad and not well researched. Like, if you're going to handle hard, heavy topics like this, because it involves familial generational trauma and abuse and gender identity, it also decides to talk about what it's like to pass as white in America in the 1950s, if you are Black in New England. And this author is not African American. She's Black, but she's not African American. She's from Britain. I can't remember if she's born in Nigeria and raised in Britain or if she's just British Nigerian, but she's not African American. And it shows because this theme is not handled well. It's not historically accurate. Like, this is sort of a historical fiction, but I'm just like, part of the thing in the book is that it's revealed that this family has always been passing. And then it's kind of just like, shrug emoji. It's like, no. This town in Massachusetts would very much care in the 1950s. Like, don't pretend that just because you didn't place this in Mississippi, they wouldn't care. So it just felt like there was a lack of research for all of these heavy themes that they were incorporating to this work. And it's like, if you're going to play in that space, you have to do your research. You have to make it feel like you're respecting these individuals in which you are taking from their life's work. And not life's work, but like their stories. And so like I was like a little weirded out by just how that whole passing plot was working. And I was still loving the writing. Like, that's the hardest part about this book, because the writing is stunning. I really love her writing. But when the reveal happens about the transphobic character, that the abusive father, I mean, I'm just spoiling it. Like, I don't think you should read this book, but I guess, move to where this cover is off the screen if you don't want to hear this. But one of our characters was always abused by their father. And then it's revealed at the end of the book that the father was actually her mother this entire time. And it was because of this gender identity problem that they were abusive in nature, which, if you know anything about the nature of transphobic dialogue in the United States, is stereotypical, it's wrong, and it's incredibly harmful. Like, that's not how this works. And I don't think it really adds that much to the story, because since it was never handled with care, you can't even have an interesting thematic discussion about gender identity. And I hate Boy Snowbird a lot. And I was so angry because I had to moderate the discussion, and I'm like, this is a 1-star read, which I don't give out very often. And I was really hoping, because I was in Boston, that people wouldn't fight me on how bad I thought the ending was. And luckily, most people agreed. And, paired with the fact that it was not very well grounded in its theme work, in its is there magic or not, like, the writing was the best part, but everything else, like, it didn't feel intentionally put together. Like, and that affected other parts of the story that were not problematic. Anyways, I hate Boy Snowbird. Let's talk about books that I love. All right, let's do our honorary mentions. Got 9 books. First, we'll start with 2 short story collections that I still think about, that I still recommend, that I still own, I believe. Actually, one I bought when I was in Canada last summer. So Takumi is a short story anthology of horror works by Indigenous authors, and it's stellar. It's short, it's sweet. You want campfire, atmospheric, tense stories, it's a perfect recommendation. It's literally so short. It is so short. If you're reading for the Reddit bingo, may I recommend it? It will take you no time. It's going to be perfect for when you want spooky reads either in the fall or winter, or maybe you're doing Summerween. Probably by the time this video's up, Summerween's over, but maybe you still want horror reads. I don't know. This was amazing. I also have Terraform, which is a longer book, but all the short stories in it are short. They're like 10 pages. And I think that's a great way to experience short stories for the first time if you're just diving in, because I think when you think of short stories, when you're approaching it and you've never read them, you really think these will take 10 minutes. That's not the case, actually. A lot of short stories take like 30 to 40 minutes to read, depending on their page length. They could be 30 to 40 pages, but these are all pretty short. And most of them are pretty high quality. Like, I have fond memories of buddy reading this with friends. There were way more hits than misses, which is always hard to find in an anthology with so many authors. So this is another one I recommend. Also, I think their website posts short stories. One that I loved was The Last Contista, which is a middle grade. I actually do own a copy of this because it's stunning. This publisher makes beautiful books. This is a sci-fi middle grade thriller, and I just loved the stakes. I loved how intense it was. I really loved that it was Latina. Like, I just loved that. I enjoyed that part of it. But also, it's just been a while since I'd read a middle grade. I read very few of them, so the fact that this was like a 4.5 star for me was just, it should tell you how good it is. It's emotional, it's gripping, it's tense, the stakes are high, because what happens is this girl needs to leave with her family to go find another planet. Like, Earth is ending. It is happening. And so the idea is they're going to be in stasis, they'll wake up, they have roles, they're going to help build a colony. But while they're in stasis, there was a hostile takeover, and that's when she wakes up. and it's intense. And also it's paired with the fact that she's meant to be more of a scientist character, like that's her role, but she loves stories. Like a contista is a storyteller, and she was raised that way by her abuela, and that's what she wants. And then it just becomes more imperative than ever to have a contista because of what has been lost because of this takeover. And it's beautiful, and I love it. One that I guess could have been a short story, but it's not a short story. I think about this one often, and honestly, if I saw it in the wild, I would buy it. And this is Strange Beasts of China. Ooh, I love this book. I love this book so much. This is a translated work, I believe, and every chapter is kind of a story about a monster, metaphor monster, real monster. It's unclear, but it's very, you go with it sort of sci-fi. And it's through the perspective of this character who's kind of an investigator, and she's just always around. And I just really loved how everything kind of interconnected and came together. It was very enjoyable for me. I buddy read it with my friend Tammy, and we did a live show for it. And like I said, I think about it a lot. I think I would enjoy rereading it, and if I saw it in the wild, I would buy it. Another sci-fi is Siosis. I've read now all 3 books in this world, but Siosis hits. That one hits special. I remember picking that up on a car ride and being like, oh, this is tense. Ooh, I like this tension. And I really liked the generational jumps. It reminded me of the best of Foundation and the best of a sci-fi horror all put together for my tastes. Like, it really matched up with my taste, and it didn't overstay its welcome because it's like 250 pages. It's incredibly short. So I love that one. The Hacienda. This was the year where I do think I truly started to be like, oh, horror, especially haunted house horror. Oh, yeah, I like this. The Hacienda is a part of that. A lot of people compare this to Gothic fiction or Rebecca, and I think they're wrong. I do. Obviously there is atmosphere to this. But I think the real comp there is the fact that this is a woman who gets married to a man she doesn't really know and ends up on his house, and no one really talks about his dead wife. That's a very Rebecca premise. But it's not a Rebecca atmosphere, in my opinion, having not read the book, but I've consumed a lot of Gothic literature. And this is not Gothic to me. This is a pulpy, campy horror book. Okay? It is a haunted house, campy time. There is like this tension and chemistry that develops between 2 characters because they're in a do or die situation, and I love it. You get both of the perspectives, and yeah, I just think it's a really pulpy, campy, good time book. And obviously there's atmosphere. I just don't think if you want that slow build, tension-filled Gothic book, that's not what this is. If you want Mexican Gothic, please read Mexican Gothic. That's not what the Hacienda is. It is about Mexican culture and history, and the priest character is a fascinating look at what happens when you need to blend from the 2 worlds, the colonizer world and the indigenous world, and the religious implications of that. There's a lot of depth here. But there's also a lot of, oh, that's a creepy sound that's being made, and oh, are the candles gonna go out? And there's a blood-curdling scream, and there's blood everywhere. It's a campy horror book. And I love it. And I really liked her sequel too, which I didn't read this year, because I think I read The Hacienda when it came out. But I really enjoyed it. Next up, we've got Long Petal of the Sea, my first and unfortunately still only Isabel Allende. I need to fix it. I have bought another book. This is not a book I feel people love by her. I think people like it. She is so prolific. People have long lists of her favorite books. I think her most known one is House of Spirits. I feel like I have the book near me, but I can't see it, so I don't know the title for sure. But there's one more magical realism book that people love more. This isn't magical realism. This is a historical fiction, but it was beautiful, and I read it so, I was immersed. I was just so in this story. It is 1930s. We start in Spain, and it's right when we are having, we learn so little about other parts of European history because they're not directly World War II, even though they are a part of World War II. But this is a part where people are trying to rise up against the Spanish government because it's going the dictatorship route. Fascism's on the rise. They fail. They end up immigrating to Chile. And that's where our main character goes, and he forms a life there. And you get to watch him form his life. And then we have a socialist regime that comes up that is immediately squashed by the United States government, and there are concentration camps, and our character kind of gets involved with that, not involved in making the camps, but gets put into a camp. But it's also about music and his life with his wife and the family they form and how they survive and how this country is shaped by history. It's a beautiful story about the 20th century through the lens of these characters, because a lot of people immigrated from Spain to Chile in this time period. And I just enjoyed learning about history this way because it was an engaging story. And just the writing. Like, I'm so excited to read more Isabel Allende because of the writing, especially because this is translated. Like, I don't actually know who her translator is, if it's always the same person. I need to look it up because, wow, did they do a good job. Next up is Siren Queen by Niveau. Is it still my favorite Niveau? No, I think The Empress of Salt and Fortune is still my favorite Niveau, even though I'm a weird Singing Hill Cycle hater. Not really a hater, but I just don't love it as much as everyone. Siren Queen, it just pairs a lot of things I like. It's very ethereal. Like, I love how untethered it is. It's not grounded at all. Like, I consistently read this when I was, like, just about to fall asleep. So I was also like, am I asleep? Am I awake? But that was also a part of the writing. But I also enjoy the golden age of Hollywood. It's such a messed up time. It produced such interesting art. It's just a time capsule for me. And this plays in that space. And it plays with the idea of, like, what if these Faustian deals are Faustian? What if we are making deals with monsters? And I just enjoyed it. I thought it was so original, and I had a lot of fun. And then the last one is one that I put here because I do think this is the moment, because I already talked about in Disappointments, House of Sky and Breath. That used to be my escapist time. It used to be Sarah J. Maas. That is when I pick up a book that I thought I would read nonstop for 2 days, get it out of my system, and then be good. Because I'm not someone who likes doing only one thing for a long period of time. It overwhelms me. And so everyone the previous year, I think, was reading The Love Hypothesis. So after I had defended my thesis and I was dead, like I was recovering from the trauma of the anxiety that killed me in getting my thesis, I read The Love Hypothesis in a day, and I had a really fun time. And I think that's the turning point in terms of when I started to slowly pick up more contemporary romance. And now I read about one contemporary romance a month. And I think this is the moment when I realized, oh, this is the place I can go for reasonably length pieces of work. And like, I mean, maybe some people think 400 is too long, but remember, I'm a fantasy girly, so 400 is like fine. Where I can escape for a day or two in these worlds. So that was exciting for me. And now into the top 10. All right. And eventually I will pit all of my top 10s against each other, and it's going to be terrifying. I haven't decided if I'll do a bracket or a tier list. If you have opinions, let me know in the comments down below. But let's start with Goliath. I was wondering if I wanted to put this on Honorary Mentions or the top 10, which is why it's number 10. But I read this twice in a month. And that really, very few books do I do that with. And I think about it quite often. I think it's a book that should be more popular in literary spheres. Like when people like form, when they like experimental literature, this book should be popular in that space. And it's not. And I think that's because when people want experimental works, sometimes they don't want to work that hard for the cultural part. And this is so unapologetically Black, if that makes sense, culturally speaking. And I really love it. One of the reasons I read it twice is because of the form and because of how it lands, and I could see the shape of it. I'm like, okay, now I need to re-experience it, trusting the process and not feeling so stressed about knowing what was happening. Because it's beautiful how it represents change and unwanted change. So the idea of this book is the world is shit. People had to leave. So the people who could afford to leave, the well-off individuals, went to a space station. And they stayed there while Earth got its stuff together. Now, obviously, in this scenario, we always know not everyone could evacuate from Earth. But I do think the average assumption in someone's head is, and everyone died. Like, Earth is so bad, everyone dies. That's not true. Earth would be so bad that people would survive, but they wouldn't be healthy, but they would survive. Like, that's how life works. The whole Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And so brown and Black people, primarily in the United States, are left behind to take care of these cities, to recycle things from these cities, to keep things going, to quote unquote be the essential workers, right? And then Earth gets good enough again that people can come back. And the whole story is about what happens when these people from outer space come back to Earth and take over these cities that these individuals have toiled on. It's like that type of gentrification. And it's really harrowing and it's really sad, but it's also filled with a lot of hope. And it's filled with really weird, vibrant individuals. But since it has this fragmented style, you don't get to experience it in a normal way. And I think that is a huge barrier to entry, and it's an understandable barrier to entry. I just wish people would challenge themselves with books like this as much as they challenge themselves with other books. Like, I'm talking about the people who do this all the time. Like, not the average reader doesn't want to be extremely challenged, and I think that's, like, a reasonable thing. Some people, we are reading for just entertainment, and that's fine. So anyways, I love Goliath. I have a video on it. I still think about it frequently. Like the blueberries. If you know what I'm talking about, the blueberries. They just live rent-free in my mind. The next one that's also just, like, beautiful form, and this one at least has found, at least on my half of Booktube, a place, and people are talking about it, and I think it's getting, like, the acclaim it deserves. It didn't get it the year it came out, which is the year I read it. And this is what's always funny, because people keep telling me to read this author. It's like, I read this author before he became popular. Not to be hipster, it's just like, that's when I did. And that's The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This is such a fantasy epic. Oh, if you like a fantasy epic, and you want it with unique world building and new history and, like, such a fun form, yeah, you gotta try this. It's about two individuals who need to traverse this land in, like, 5 days. They have to deliver this artifact and this goddess, and it's on the verge of, like, a political upheaval. And it is related to the present day, and our main character, well, he's not a main character, but the story is being told to a contemporary individual in a very unique way. And it's just a story that's about loss and love. It's epic. It's over the top. It has magical creatures. It's not like Never-Ending Story, but it reminds me of Never-Ending Story, if that makes sense. I really love it. The reason I don't have a review for this on the channel is purely because as you can tell, I don't know how to talk about it. It's just a magical time. It is so unique. If you're someone who's like, everything feels the same, you should try it out, because it's not going to feel the same. It's going to feel familiar, but very different. The next one is The Past is Red. This is the only Catherine M. Valente I've read. I need to read more, but this is a novella. I think it won the Hugo the year it was out. If not, it was very close to winning. And I really like this one, because this is the type of hopeful science fiction that gets me through my dark days. Tetley lives on an island of trash, and everyone's trying to figure out how to get back to the good old days. And she's like, but that might ruin our pile of trash, and it's okay living on our pile of trash. And I just love Tetley. I love her a lot. And I enjoyed that it was a novella. I don't know how I'll get on with Catherine M. Valente's longer works, because I've read a short story and this novella, and I think less is more, because she has a very unique style, but I really enjoyed this. Nettle and Bone, my first T. Kingfisher. Truly a big moment, because I've read a lot of T. Kingfisher since this first one that I read. And I think I read this one about a month after I defended my thesis. It was around graduation. That's when I read this. And it reminded me of consuming Stardust, which is one of my favorite movies. And because of that, I really like it. It's about this character, I think her name's Mara, and she lives in a convent, and she needs to protect her sister, who is in an abusive marriage. So she goes on a quest, and we pick up people on a quest. And I really enjoyed it. And I'm not a questy person, but I enjoyed this. This was a fun, dark, questy time. I have to reread it to see how it compares now, because this is also just my first introduction to T. Kingfisher's style, which is very light and dark in a very fun combination. So, yeah. Next up, this is our last short story collection, The Paper Managerie by Ken Liu. So good. It's probably my favorite short story collection by him. I think I like it more than The Hidden Girl. So yeah, actually I read The Hidden Girl this year too. I read both of his short story collections. And I like The Hidden Girl, but The Paper Managerie, it's got the sauce. It's special. People talk about it all the time about how they'll cry. There is one story that is just so human. It's hard not to be emotional while you read it. And it's the titular story, The Paper Managerie. And it's, especially as a child of an immigrant parent and someone from the United States. Like, I'm, Venezuelan American, and I don't speak Spanish very well, and I'm not very attached to my roots in ways that I would like to be. Reading a story about a child who is also grappling with trying to belong, and also how do they interact with this part of their life with their parents. It's a beautiful story. And there's also a fascinating historical fantasy and science fictions. I don't know if there's a miss. I really don't know if there's a miss in that collection. It's pretty great. Number 5, The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. This book was so fun for me. Like, I low-key gave myself a headache with how high my blood pressure got at the end of this book. Because it's such an action movie. I think all 4 of these books in Mistborn Era 2, which gets unwarranted hate, in my opinion, because they are just if Sanderson wrote Batman movies. Like, that's what this would be. And it's so fun. Like, if Batman was set in Industrial Revolution times, that's who Wax is. And his Robin is Wayne, and they do stuff, and it's a silly time, and I love the tech magic stuff. They don't overstay their welcome. Steris is, like, one of my favorite Sanderson characters of all time, and the Lost Metal stuck the landing for me. I know there's a lot of discussion about Wayne's character and his humor and whether that works or doesn't work for people. It works for me. It works for me. It didn't take me out of it. I was very emotionally affected, and I was stressed out of my mind reading that book. All right, number 4. This is truly where I'm like, oh, this book. And Ryan and I both read this book, and we both really like this book. This doesn't happen all the time. This is Build Your House Around My Body. So good, so good. It's Vietnamese, historical, modern, fiction, horror, literary. It's definitely supernatural. There's supernatural. This isn't one of those literaries where, is it magical or not? No. There's supernatural elements. It starts in a place of mystery of where's this woman? She's missing. And so we keep going back into the past, back to the present, although you're kind of going to different points of the past because you're also learning about the history of this region. There's this family drama tied into it. Oh, I love it. I need to reread it. She is good. I need another book by this author. I've read her short stories. I really like them, although I think the novel is where she takes all of the best parts of her short stories and just like, It's the connections, the ending. It's one of those books where the ending I just think about. I think about it a lot. Okay. Anyways, moving on. These top 4, including Build Your House Around My Body, are like contenders for favorites of all time. So number 3 is Light from Uncommon Stars, which is the sci-fi book about the alien donuts and stuff like that people always talk about. So this is about Katrina, who plays violin, and she learns from an instructor after she runs away from home because she's trans and needed to run away from home to be safe. And she ends up with this instructor who has made a Faustian deal with the devil that she needs to give 7 souls, 9 souls, can't remember, a number of souls. Katrina would be the last soul. What I love just off the get-go is that this is not hidden information for Katrina, really. Like, Katrina makes these decisions eyes wide open. And then our instructor forms a relationship with this alien refugee from another planet who opens a donut shop, all, I think, in Los Angeles. A specific part of Los Angeles, because if you don't know, Los Angeles is just like a freaking huge, it's its own state. It is so big. So saying Los Angeles is not very helpful, but the sense of place in this, you can tell the author was pulling from her love for this area, because the sense of place is so strong. And I love this story. It has a climax tied to a musical performance that is awe-inspiring to me. I love music. I don't talk about it a lot. I was classically trained on piano. I played clarinet for like 7 years. I also played saxophone for the marching band. I danced throughout college. I still sing and dance all the time. I love music. If I could have a soundtrack to a book that was in pace with how I read a book, that would be the ideal way for me to consume art. That does not exist very often. But I love to be emotionally manipulated by songs, and this was the closest I ever got to feeling how I feel when I consume like a movie with the ebbs and flow of music that's meant to tell me, hey, this is stressful, or hey, this is, magnificent, etc. Like watching this new Superman movie or something like that. So good. So good. I need to read, there's like one backlist work by this author I haven't read yet, and I will consume anything else that comes out. I was so happy that, as much as I give the Hugos gripes, the Hugos are why I think this got to be on the shelves for as long as it did and see a wider audience than it would have, because it got 2nd place, and I was so happy. The next is The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez, which someone did just recently tell me I should read this book. And you're right, because I love this book. I own this book. It's up. I can do this. There's the book. Ryan got it for me for Valentine's Day. This book makes me emotional. It makes me ache. It makes me ache so much. And again, I love how unique it is, but how obviously it's inspired by classic fantasy. Not fantasy, science fiction that I've read. It's like, oh, you're pulling from XYZ, but it's your own spin. And the writing is beautiful. If you want to know how Simon Jimenez works, my friend Evie from She Was Only Evie did an interview with him, and it was fascinating. Oh, I loved consuming that. So The Vanished Birds, I do have a standalone review for. I love it. I love it a lot. Like, so, and I'm glad that because Spirit Cuts Through Water got popular, people are reading this too, and I think it's being received, like, appropriately, in good faith. Like, the reviews make sense, you know, and it just makes me happy. And then the last one, which should come as no surprise, because I do believe I read this entire series this year, and it was my obsession. Continues to be my obsession. I think about rereading it often. I named my cat after the main character in the series, The Chorus of Dragons. Oh, gosh, top tier epic fantasy for me. So fun. So fun. Like, it's bombastic. There's dragons right from the get-go. It's got secret heirs right from the get-go. It's so convoluted and fun. The footnotes, the number of characters, its intentionality of subverting classic tropes while being like, and this trope's fun, so we're gonna do it. I love it. I loved exploring the worlds. I loved the different cultures. I loved the stakes. I loved learning the drama. I loved knowing the bad guy was bad, but honestly, sometimes wondering, but is he bad? Like, is this the only way? I loved it. I loved it so much. I did kickstart her new sci-fi book, and I'm hoping I love it as much, because, I mean, I liked the new fantasy book she came out with, but it wasn't Chorus of Dragons. You know, like, oh, Chorus of Dragons. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, it's definitely divisive, and I think it's just gonna matter if you like it. But it was one of those magic moments where from the first chapter, I was like, oh, I'm in. Oh, this is special. This is my brain, and this, we synced. We synced up. I'm in. I'm seated. Let's go. I was so excited. And yeah, and it's just one of those things that I really love. So I feel one of those classic, yes, this is a thing Angela from Literature Science Lines loves way too much. So yeah, that was a very long-winded ramble. This is going to take 7 million years to export and get to you guys. But if you made it this long, I really appreciate you just vibing and relaxing with me. And let me know any of these books you have opinions on, if you agree, disagree, and if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here. You're going to leave a dragon for Chorus of Dragons. Because truly, my love for that series knows no bounds. None. Zero. Oh, so good. Anyways, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.